We have a government, state, national, that overpromises and underdelivers, overtaxes and overspends. And now what it uses to destroy, trample over the liberties of the people, because you have a lot of lawyers in control, is a sue you. So that brings us today. And we say, well, what is the spirit that we hear out there in East Texas? And why are you here today? And what you need to know what the spirit is so you can marshal it and put it to use. And I just think it's just real simple. Had enough. What you see out there in East Texas, people have just had enough. And that's the resounding response you have. Had enough. Americans are saying no. We're not going to consign our children and our children's children to be slaves of financiers in Asia, in central banks. The American people are standing up, and what you need to do when you go out there is you need to stand up with them and say, you had enough. When I was thinking about this race, I believe one night I was reading my Bible, and I was in the 6th or the 7th chapter of Isaiah. And I think there's a verse there that says, who shall go for us?
Who will we send?
And Isaiah said, here I am. He didn't take a poll. He didn't start out with a financial campaign war chest. He didn't go find out how many friends he had. He said, here I am. That's what East Texans are looking from the Republican Party. When the government comes in and says, we want to take your Second Amendment rights, we need to be ready to stand up and say, here I am. When the government comes in and wants to confiscate the people's property and their hard-earned money, we need to be able to stand up and say, here I am. It's not about it's good to have friends. The incumbent is a good guy. He's a veteran and I'm a veteran. He was an educator or still is one. I'm an educator. On his Texas legislative website, it has him saying he's a farmer, beans, corn, squash, peanuts, whatever. Well, I'm a rancher. He's a man of faith. I'm a man of faith. So we're good guys. But as John Adams, and Thomas Jefferson were very good friends. But it's about posterity. I'm not asking you to be here today. I didn't want you to be here today. I didn't ask Trey Train or GOP to sponsor this for me. It's about those 80 kids that I stand in front of every day. It's about your grandkids. It's not about our 401ks today or the price of gas at the pump today. It's about your children's children. That's what this is about. Had enough. The American people are people of faith. They're innovative. They practice rugged individualism. They're people of hard work. But just think of this. We had a vice president a few days ago. Now this is after spending $800 billion in stimulus cash. That there is no possibility to restore the 8 million jobs lost over the 2 years. And then the Treasury Secretary, and this is the same guy who couldn't even calculate his taxes correctly with the software program, says that the world cannot economically depend on the U.S. as it has in the past. Well, I've got a message for the Vice President and the Secretary. I don't think that's your job. I don't think it's your job to determine the height and the breadth of the American spirit. To both of them, I've got a suggestion. Shut up. Stop spending. Stop taxing. Stop borrowing. get out of the way and let the American people create the jobs. See, up in Washington, they've probably resigned themselves to a second-class status. But as Bob said, this is still the shining city on the hill. And the American people I talk to in East Texas, they still want their country to lead economically, culturally, and militarily. The American people are sick and tired of being sick and tired of a government that refuses to do its job. Spends all the wealth that the American people sent in on April the 15th, then it borrows vastly more, and it prints more. This thing, I was talking to some builders the other day. The federal government can find EPA and OSHA regulators to come to our state because of decisions that Wayne Christian and Dan Flynn has made in the legislature to make sure that Texas remains strong economically. And our housing industry is doing well. States surrounding, their housing industry isn't doing very well. So they tell those EPA and OSHA regulators, why don't you pick up shop and move to Texas, where the housing industry is still vibrant. And here's the point. If we can find census workers to go around and knock on people's doors and ask them how many toilets they have in their house, we can find OSHA and EPA regulators. We should be able to find the boots on the ground to secure the border.
Amen.
All along the border. And I'm going to tell you today, we're all Arizona.